I'm pretty sure that was probably live.
Probably.
All right.
Yeah, we're live.
Welcome back to another episode of Awakening Consciousness with Asher and Jesse. To whoever said stop chewing in the comments, I will not. Well, I will for today, possibly. Thanks for being with us, guys. This is going to be quick and dirty, probably about a 35-minute show. But I wanted to cover a topic that, I think sort of was brought up. I did some a little bit of observation in the Awakening Consciousness Telegram chat, which is a great chat, honestly. And it brought up a topic for me, right? So I want to take a few minutes here and sort of look at how do we, as people who want good, who are seeking truth, who are positively polarized beings, right? Like we're on the side of light, right? And we're truth seekers, and so on and so forth. How do we navigate this world, especially within the world of disinformation, misinformation, and then just all the different opinions, right? So in the Telegram chat, there's I don't know, I haven't followed it closely at all, but there seems to be a somewhat heated debate. Maybe it's not so heated, I don't know. But there's a debate taking place about this in the water, or whatever the video is called, that we talked about on yesterday's show. And I want to talk about this a little bit because I think it's important. So here's the main point to me. The main point to me is that there are two sides in a certain sense, in a certain context, right? There's two sides. So there's the side that is dark and manipulating humanity for dark means. Then there's the side that's light, that's seeking to embody their full light and to share that with the world and to bring that forth in that reality, in that paradigm, that context. Then yes, there's a lot of people, almost everyone actually, right, in between, and can go either way and influenceable, including those of us who are fighting for quote unquote good. We have a dualistic language here. We have to talk like that. So but there's these two kind of sides. Now, the dark side does all kinds of disinformation, misinformation, manipulation, brainwashing, fear, porn, right? All this kind of stuff. We understand that. Stuff that's originating from that source should be called out, right? In the sense that if darkness comes into your life, identify it, call it out. That's helpful. That's useful. If we're talking about the other side, right? If we're talking about the side that is on your team, right? Is on your side. I don't know how much it matters to me personally. I don't know how much it matters whether someone's opinion I think is right or wrong, right? And I want to sort of make that point, because I think, again, one of the biggest strategies of the agenda, the dark agenda, right, is divide and conquer, right? They divide us amongst race, they divide us amongst religion, they divide us amongst sexuality, gender, income, regions, countries, teams, politics, on and on and on, education levels, right? It's through every facet of society. You see the divide and conquer strategy on display, where if we can get humans fighting with each other, they won't realize what we're doing. That's the whole game. So if I believe that, if I believe that Donald Trump's a great guy and is going to save the world, and you believe that Donald Trump's a piece of crap, part of the agenda, and is destroying the world, fine. But are we both wanting the same thing, looking for the same thing, interested in the same thing? If the answer to that is yes, we're on the same team, right? And I think that it's a major win for the other side if we're fighting about that with each other instead of working together to create the world we want to create. right? So that's really the point I want to make. At the end of the day, like, to me personally, I don't really care. I don't know how much it even matters whether this narrative is right or that narrative is right. Like, I'm as interested in truth as anybody. Like, believe, like, trust me, Asher knows me well. Like, I will freaking dig and figure out until I'm positive about, this is the way it is, blah blah blah, right? That's the personality I have. And I used to spend lots and lots of time arguing with people about, why my narrative is right, and that was useless and continues to be useless. And at the end of the day, unless somebody is actively on the other side, now there are people who are not actively, there are people who are on the other side and don't know it. So that's a little different. But if people are, unless someone's actively on the other side or on the other side without knowing it, it doesn't really matter to me, from my perspective. It doesn't really matter whether they think the earth is flat around, whether they think, all these kinds of things, right? That people are, whether they think crypto is good or gold and silver is good, right? Whether they think that, Q is a psyop or it's good, right? It doesn't really matter. Now, yes, the disinfo, misinformation agents and all that, yes, they're trying to get all that going, right? So yeah, they're putting all this stuff out, sure, to mislead people, to get people believing false narratives, and then get them fighting with each other. That's partly the point. So I just want to point that out to people, that, like, if we're infighting, and I'm not saying that that's what's happening in the chat. I've seen this years and years and years, right? We all have. If we're infighting with each other on the good side, and it's okay to have debates, right? Of course, it's okay to say, well, I think this and I think that, and I look at this a little differently. Me and Asher do that all the time, right? It's fine to look at all that stuff. But if we're infighting on our side, they win. Period. End of story. So does it really matter? Like, nobody's gonna remember this video in 2 weeks, right? Like, that's gonna be gone, and that's gonna be the end of that story, most likely, unless it really gains traction and becomes, a huge thing. But very likely, this will not be a topic in a couple of weeks. But if it caused division amongst the movement, and let's just say that's what it was created for, I have no idea. I watched 20 minutes of it. I was compelling to me. I also saw all of Asher's points as valid, but I have no idea what the energy source of this is. Is it dark? Is it light? Is it good? Is it bad? I have no idea. But let's just say it's dark. Let's just say this is a misinformation video put out for a reason to throw people off the trail and confuse them further and blah 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 blah, right? Let's say that's the point of it. Okay, that's the point of it. Fine, it works. Some people believe that, it's snake venom. Does that matter ultimately in, like, the ascension process, right? Does that matter ultimately in, like, ridding ourselves of evil? Maybe a tiny bit in some way, but does that matter more than the strife and problems you would cause spending a day or something? And again, I'm not saying this happened in the chat at all. I'm just using it as an example. Arguing with someone about whether the video is right or not, right? Imagine if me and Asher spent a day, arguing with each other about whether or not this narrative was correct or not. Like, would that be a good use of our time? Like, did we help each other or the planet or anything doing that? No, it's absurd. It's ridiculous. So I just want to point that out to people, that we got to maintain our side in the heart space, in the sort of vibration and the energy of the world we want. And at the end of the day, the mental stuff, to me, it's important a little bit on the periphery. So great, have discernment, believe what you believe. If you get a chance to make a point to someone, make it if you want to. But, let's just keep in mind that we're always in that divide and conquer agenda. And so we need to just be cognizant of that.
Yeah. And, we're caught up right in the middle of a divide and conquer, I guess, play, you would call it here, within the anti-vax community. So there's part of the anti-vax community that is believing in the virus narrative, but just doesn't think that the injections are good, right? And then there's another part of the anti-vax community, probably a smaller subsection of that, which we would inhabit, and that is the no virus narrative. And I think it's important, and this goes along with what you say, to not have like a purity test for people. Like you don't have to be in agreement on every single thing with someone, or else they're out. You know what I mean? And it's also, because that gets very limiting, and that gets, then you're going to end up eating yourself, or eating our side will end up eating itself and attacking each other, and losing focus on the bigger mission, which is to stay uninjected, to not have the passports and all the tracking that they're planning and hoping to bring forward. And so I think we need to, people in the truth movement, in the freedom movement, should stop having a purity test on the people that we associate with on everything. Like you said, if we're on the side of the good, the beautiful, the true, freedom, then that's good enough, and we can work on the anti-injection front and make sure that we win that battle, because if we don't win that battle, the war is over. And then we can focus on the other aspects where we might disagree. And so it's important to sort of remain solidified in our goal of sort of winning that anti-tracking battle. So that's number one. Number two, I had a point I was going to make. The purity test. And the other thing is to, when we see a piece of information, or we see something from a person, that a new person puts out a video, or an old person puts out a video, or whatever it is, a piece of information, it's important to go after the information and the argument that they're making. That it's more important to do that than it is to attack the person. So I think you'll notice that neither Jesse or I were saying, oh, Stu Peters is a shill, he's totally bought off, and he's beholden to Israel, whatever, whatever it is, we didn't attack Stu Peters, and I don't think we attacked our artists, the other guy, either. We were more trying to dispel their arguments, or trying to counter the information that they were putting forward. Not necessarily that we were countering it, but saying how they essentially presuppose something based on the virus narrative, which I personally don't believe in. And so they took a bunch of leaps of faith based on a faulty premise. And so I'm not attacking Dr. Ardis, I'm not attacking Stu Peters, I'm not saying that they're bad or good. I'm just saying that I don't buy their argument because it was on a faulty premise. Here, my opinion on that premise, here's what it is. And they can, they're not going to watch it, but they could refute that if they wanted to. I don't think they can, but I'm making my argument, and I would hope that people would attack my argument rather than attack me personally. Come at me if you want, but attack the argument, and I'll attack your argument rather than attack the person. So that's number two. Number three, it really is important to have discernment and to sort of take a step back. You'll notice that over the years, all the sort of hoaxes and all that stuff, like when 9/11 happened, within hours, all the news media was saying, Osama bin Laden, Osama bin Laden. You can see the clips of those people saying, oh, it's Osama bin Laden. How the hell did they know that within hours of that happening?
They're really
there was a
smart.
passport
They're
floated
really,
down.
really smart.
Yeah, a passport landed in the lap of a reporter from one of the planes, and so they tied that to Osama bin Laden. So the point there is when something like that goes viral like that, it was allowed to do so. If it's on their side, then there's coordination and all that stuff to say, oh, Osama bin Laden did this because we found a passport that floated down from the ashes of the plane, and luckily this reporter found it. But on this one, it was it went viral overnight. We had tons of people emailing us like, hey, check this out. And there's a reason why that happened. There's a reason why, this type of thing is allowed to circulate among the truth community, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but, they put it out there so that people believe it, buy into it, and the narrative remains the same. There is a pathogenic thing that we need to be worried about, whether it's in the air or the water or whatever. It makes it real. And that's the purpose of that. And maybe artists and Stu Peters think that what they said is real. I don't know. We don't know their internal motivation, but there's a lot of coincidences that that kind of makes sense. That makes sense over here, but ultimately it's built on a faulty premise. And so that's why I don't believe in it, but it doesn't mean necessarily that they're coming to it from a place of darkness or deception or anything like that. So there you go.
Yeah. And just to, touch on that last point first, right? Like, again, I mean it. I didn't watch this whole video, not close to it. I still want to. And I'm not prepared to say those things that you are, that it's just, it's basically a misinfo type deal. I don't know yet, right? I already said that. I just want to repeat that. But there's a couple of points you made that for me are very poignant that I want to, second. You mentioned not attacking the person, right? And I would add to that, certainly you wouldn't attack the person who believes the thing that was put out, right? So that would be even more ridiculous. And these are the tactics of the cabal. These are the tactics, right, of the controlled political left at this point, right? If you don't agree with them, you're a Nazi. If you don't agree with them, you're a racist, bigot, homophobe. You hate poor people, like whatever, right? Whatever the thing whatever they're slinging at you. And that ends the conversation. Like, how do you have a conversation with someone once they're insulting you, right? Like, they're just calling you names. They're no longer addressing the point. They're no longer addressing, it's not a debate. It's not a political conversation. There's no logic involved. It's devolved into, grade school games, right? It's like, who can do the best yo mama joke, right? When you're when you're like a little kid, so that and you're pretty good at that. All right, you got it, bro. You got it. Right. And so exactly, hopefully we can be hopefully our side of things, right? Sure, it's fine to call people out, and especially I think women have a talent for that men can't and shouldn't use very much. It's like women can get that sort of passionate or righteous no, what's the right word? That when the word's escaping me, but that when women can do that sort of from the gut, hardcore sort of like emotional takedown of something that's just fucking wrong, right? Like, women can kind of come at it from that and make an amazing, impactful point that you're like, oh, she's right. This is just wrong, right? Women kind of have that.
I heard someone say that women make great accountants because they love pointing out and finding errors.
Right. Well, whether I agree with that or not, or which of course I do, that's a separate topic. But I'm a man, what do I know? I must be racist. So so it's like, but I think in general, right, maintaining civility, logic, maintaining your energy space in any sort of interaction is in your favor ultimately in every sense, in every way, including winning the conversation, including the power dynamics that go back and forth, right? All of that. So I think that was a great point. The other point, I really agree with, I don't remember the word you used. I'm going to use the word litmus test. I think you had a better one, but not having a litmus test for like whether you're cool with someone or they're in the club or not, very important. Again, this is how I can't hear you if you're making jokes. It looks like you are, but um, I can't, it's very easy. Again, it's of the other side, right? It's from darkness to have these sorts of in or out mentality, right? It's like, oh, you agree with me on 9 things, but you don't agree with me on this 10th. Fuck you, you're out, right? We can live our lives this way, and what that ultimately leads to is a life alone, right? It leads to everyone's out because everyone is going to do things that bother you, no matter what in your life. And this goes way beyond this topic and into just sort of life. But it's like we have to always come at things. No, not we have to. I think it's good to always come at things, with as much forgiveness and understanding and stability and maintaining that calm and that sort of vibration as we can, so that we can take that step back you talked about, right? So that we can maintain our logical brain functioning when we're interacting, so that we aren't just in a reactionary state all the time. That's again part of the goal of the other side, right? Is to get us into that state where we're just reacting and we're reacting negatively, and there's all kinds of fear, and they get into that fight or flight type stuff and all that. So I mean, let's not fight with each other about like whether a documentary is right or not. We can have a debate about it, sure. Well, I think Asher made some points, right? I think that it's misinfo for these reasons. Okay, and if I had watched it, and maybe I'd have some some counterpoints or not, but but certainly we're not going to like get into a fight about it or have some large disagreement, because that would be counterproductive.
Yeah, I do want to point out that Artis was clarifying on another video that I saw this morning, and he was saying that we know it's in the water because they're using PCR tests on many different municipal water supplies, and that's a leap in logic there. So number one, the PCR test is meaningless and doesn't test for anything. And number two, just because they're using it doesn't necessarily mean that it's because there's snake venom there. So just leaps in logic that I don't think are founded. But yeah, to your point, like the purity test, if we agree with people on 9 things and then the 10th thing we don't agree with, show me one person in this world that agrees with me on everything. That would not be, it just doesn't happen. I mean, and if you're expecting people to agree with you on everything, you're going to be fractured, and that's kind of what is happening to kind of the left-wing political movement. They're fighting to see who can be the biggest victim and who can, score the most victim points, and this person is more oppressed because of X, Y, and Z than that person, and then and it's going to fracture their movement, and it always does. When you play identity politics, it's just going to create further and further fracturing of a movement. And I think that the main thing is to counter the big agenda. The big agenda, as we've said many times, is direct control over you through medical stuff, through financial stuff, and through the supply chain issues. And all of those we've talked about, all of those we've given or tried to present alternatives and ways out. And so, to me, at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. If people are in a, if you're going to your guru or whatever, and they're just trying to instill fear in you, and then maybe sell you a solution to that fear, that's not someone that has your best interest at heart necessarily. I think the people who are going to be the most trustworthy and the people who have the best interest at heart are going to be the ones who are positive and trying to give a better solution, without necessarily selling you anything. And so, that's it. I mean, it comes with experience, like I'm sure this is something that I could have fallen for years ago. There are some, potential coincidences that are intriguing in this, but again, it builds off a faulty premise, and therefore I can't get behind it. And I've also seen a fracturing in the truth movement, not necessarily in our chat, but in in people. And it's an attempt to get you scared. And that's why something like this was allowed to go as viral as it did. I can't tell you how many people are talking about this, sending it to us. What do we think about it? What does Dr. Cowan think about this? And, I think he's going to have to address it because so many people are wondering. But yeah, it's the important thing is to not have the purity test. We can be on the same team without agreeing on everything.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's really on that topic, kind of all I had to say. I just wanted to address that. I feel like that is important. I feel like staying cohesive and staying on the same team is important, because there's going to be lots of gyrations and lots of attempts to split and divide and put us at odds and make us fight. I mean, that's like literally one of the largest tools that they have. So, let's not fall for that, whether we agree or disagree on some individual topic or subject. Let's definitely not fall for that. So yeah, that's really all I have to say on that. I don't know, man, what else we got going on? I got a beautiful day here. The sun and the beach is where I'm at in my life at this point. We're just, I don't know, it's an interesting time. Like, some of the people I watch are talking about how heavy the energies are right now. And I'm just in this like totally creative, expansive, flow. It's been one of the nicest couple of weeks for me here energetically, which is interesting, because I usually line up with what the people I kind of half pay attention to are also going through. But it just seems to me like the walls are just coming down more and more and more to the limits on what's possible. And it's just, we're just able to just sort of create almost in like a vacuum, in a way that, I've never experienced before in my life, which is really cool. I'm so enjoying this time. Maybe I just like being at the beach, but but it's been a really nice time.
Yeah, well, I'm doing what I always do, working in my garden. That's going well. I should show more of it soon, which I probably will. I've cleaned up my pool, so I'm probably going to swim in the pool today, when it warms up a little bit more. It's going to be cold, but it's still mid-April, so that's that. I interviewed 2 people this week for a customer service job that we had open and still open, but we're going to make our decision next week. Awesome people, like fan freaking tastic. And it's amazing the quality of people, and not only like highly qualified and all that stuff, but also on the same path with and wavelength with where their mind's at. Their mind is, building, creating, making steps, taking steps in their own life, growing a garden, getting together with local people in their area and building community and all that stuff. And those are the types of people that I want to be associated with. The people who have, who say, if you ask them, would you go back to the sort of pre-pandemic life and your pre-pandemic knowledge of everything? And everyone says no, I would not go back. I love where I am right now. I understand that there's a lot of challenges, but it's such a great time to be alive. We're making so much progress, in whatever they're doing. And those are the types of people that we want to be associated with. And those are the types of people that you want in your life, not the people who are telling you to be scared of this and scared of that. And yes, there are environmental toxins. There are things that we need to, be careful about and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's really about your own taking responsibility for your own life and building the life that you want to live. And the people with that mindset are going to be the people who have the best time in the future.
Yes. Man, I second all that so much. It's so interesting how often our lives parallel each other in a certain way. But I'm in the middle of interviews as well, interviewing people, and not all of them are great by any stretch, but there's been some phenomenal ones. And it is fascinating how it's like when you're creating something beautiful and you put out that sort of siren call, it's like people go, right? People are like, oh, this is my chance, right? And these very talented, high level people who want the lifestyle change, who are on their path, who are on their spiritual path, right? Of growth and expansion, but also have these skill sets and so on and so forth, just come out of the woodwork to get involved and to jump in and be a part of it. I mean, we've had two really high level people like jump on board for free, just to help us like get to the next level. That's not what we're looking for. We're hiring people, to work, but it's been just remarkable, right? It's just like, it's almost like God saying, oh, you're doing what I want. Like, okay, here, have this, and it's like, wow, thank you. That's awesome. I needed that, and then it's kind of the path just unfolds. So again, that's kind of what I mean by this. It's such a cool time to be alive, like those people you're talking to are saying. Yeah, man, it's just kind of that time where I think you can hop into that sort of vortex, that some of those law of attraction people describe, maybe Abraham Hicks or others, very easily right now, and just sort of go and create and attract everything to you fast, and the manifestations happen fast and the results happen fast, and all of a sudden, you've created that thing you're trying to create much easier than it would have been in your mind, and therefore in reality, a little while ago or some years back, or I think we are in that spiral of time at the end, right, where it's really speeding up. And so yeah, it's a fun time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having a good time. My kids are excited about swimming in the pool. They've been bugging me for a while, and hopefully it's not too cold for them. But yeah, I mean, I think maybe this is a good place to end it for today. Unless you have anything.
No, I'm good. My 3-year-old would be very happy if I ended it now, and took a few minutes before my 10 o'clock call in 6 minutes. But no, it was good chat.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, we will hopefully see you back Monday. Have a good weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you later.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Yeah.